Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you can hear me. I hope everyone is very well tonight. So let's see who's on the stream. We have Derek. Great to see you, Derek. Hope you're well. We have Ere. Great to see you. Tom Linden. Great to see you. Leiden, sorry. We have Super. Great to see you. Raven 1983 Witch. Great to see you again. Hope you're well. We have Enzo the God. Great to see you, Enzo. We have a super chat. Let me see. It's from Ministerian. Great to see you, and thank you so much for that super chat. UBI. It's what people ask for. Okay, I will touch on UBI later on. Thank you very much for that super chat. Yes. Very kind of you as always. We have Anonymous. Great to see you, Anonymous. UBI. UBI. We have, great to have you on again. Hope you're well. We have James S. Great to see you, James. We have, let me see, FSM is the dog. Great to see you. Tiny Demolition Lover. Hope you're well. We have Killer. Great to see you, Killer. Hope you're well. Gene T. Great to see you too. Toki Toaster. Fantastic name. Great to have you on. Hello, Max and Mods. If my Brexit spoof songs are unwanted, let me know and I'll stop. Oh, well, let's hear some of them. We have Korolev, great to see you. We have Pete Robbins, great to see you. Pete Dano, great to see you. Oh, let me see who else has sent a super chat. Bogdan, thank you so much for that. We need Max in a Union Jack Mankini. UBI. Oh my God. Okay, what have I signed up for myself? What I've signed up to? Mankini. Union Jack Mankini. Well, we'll get to the Union Jacks in a moment. First, I have to say hello to everyone, as many people as possible. We have Verti. Great to see you, Verti. Hope you're well. We have Jim. Great to see you, Jim. CGM. Great to have you on again. Hope you're well. We have, I think I said hello to Dano, Bookham Dano. We have Lenan. Great to see you, Lenan. Hope you're well. Inconsequential. Great to see you. The Crazy Harry Duck. Great to see you. Mindy. Great to have you on. All Shorts. Great to have you on once again. Hope you're well. Enjoying the channel. We have Reagan Elite. Great to see you, Reagan. Paul Clark. We have... Who else? Jim Green, great to see you, Jim. I have to go very quickly. We're over 170. Glasgow Kiss, great to see you on. Hope you're well. We have Conservator, great to have you on again. Let me see. I have to go quickly. We have Mark, great to see you. Doc Davies, great to see you. Bogdan, of course, thanks for the super chat as well. Kendra, great to see you. And so many more. Unfortunately, I can't say hello to everyone. I'll try my best. Diego. James May. No Dialcy, great to see you. Adrian. Akismad, great to have you on. Geraldine Doyle, great to see you. And everyone who's come on the stream tonight. Thank you. Thank you all so much for turning up. Remember, if you want to support the channel, you can hit me with super chat if you want to. If you can't do that, you can also just share videos around social media. That's a great way of helping the channel as well. But tonight I want you to smash that like button, lick that like button, touch that like button, whichever you prefer. Only one time, of course. So I hope everyone's well. Tiernan, great to see you. QA Library, hope you're well. You not get the fizz? Where is your flag? Everyone's attacking me for not having my flag. Where is your flag? Where is your flag? I'm not with the game. So this whole flag disaster, mess, whatever you want to call it, I think it's beyond a joke at this stage. But let's see what this is about. I just wanted to start on the flags and then move on to Brexit, of course. But this is... So if you're not familiar, what happened was, I actually did a video on it. Hi, Sean Hopkins, great to see you. Archangel, great to see you too. What happened was a minister, Robert Jenrick, yes, the housing secretary, I think it was, he appeared on the BBC and he had a huge flag, which was actually upside down, I think, and it was in the distance and it appeared quite small. Or they were just pretending that it was small or whatever, and they were sort of making fun out of him because he had his flag, because every minister who goes on TV now has a flag with them. And this is something that sort of came along after Brexit, it seems. You know, we've thrown the country under a bus, but don't worry, we have a flag. And, you know, the bigger the flag, the more of a patriot I am. The bigger the flag, the more I care about Britain. When in reality it's not. It's just plastic patriotism. The idea of, you know, and we've seen it in the United States as well, where they started off, I think it was around probably the beginning of the 2000s, just after 9/11. Monkey Tron, good to see you on the stream. It was just after 9/11 you started to see American politicians with the little Star-Spangled Banner in their lapel. And then it seemed to travel around the world, this sort of fake populism, fake patriotism. And then you started to see recently, I think it's just really post-Brexit, British politicians appearing with 1, 2, 5, 10 flags behind them. Sugar-free, hope you're well. Rial, good to see you on the stream as well. So it's an attempt to appear like they care when in reality they don't. Now, of course, the BBC journalists made a bit of fun out of this, like nothing serious, you know. But of course, the people on the right don't understand humor, and you know they attack the left for being being snowflakes or whatever. But when it comes to not even criticizing, just making fun of somebody who's pretending to be something that they're not, these people lose their minds. And this is from Talk Radio. I just wanted to share this video with you. It's quite short, but it's just a good example of how the right lose their mind because somebody is complaining about somebody. Not even complaining. I don't know why I'm saying the word complain. It's just making fun of somebody pretending to be something that they're not.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of anti-British sentiment over at the BBC. I'm not sure why. Why is
anti-British sentiment? How is it anti-British to make fun of somebody who's pretending to be something that they're not? The minister doesn't care about Britain, and I talked about that. If he cared about Britain, then he would make sure that the poorest people in society are looked after. How can you claim to care about the country if you throw the people of that country under a bus? Like, they automatically go to, because they found it funny that he had this flag behind him, that means that they're anti-British. Okay.
BBC, I'm not sure why. Why is patriotism a bad thing, Ian?
It's like, why are they upset about patriotism? Like they're not angry with patriotism. They're not upset about patriotism. They're not anti-British. He's starting. I think you call this poisoning the well. This is the poisoning the well fallacy. So he's pretending that these people are anti-British, and then he's asking why are they anti-British, and of course they're not able to respond. Anti-British on Tory BBC. Yes. A lot of people on the left have no sense of humor. I don't know. Like, a flag for you. Thank you so much, Glasgow Kiss. A black flag. I hope it doesn't have any white writing on it, or maybe skull and crossbones. Huge flag. He thinks he overcompensates for something. What else? What else do you think? What else do we know like that? Yes, overcompensates and small hands, small brain, small something. Very good. Thank you to Glasgow Case and to Bogdan. Yes, this attempt to show, look how British I am. I have the biggest flag. It reminds me of was it Patton, the film Patton, where you see Patton, a tiny little dot, and this huge American flag behind him. Different context, of course.
Well, indeed. No, I'm absolutely with you on that. And it was that point, wasn't it, when I think, as I said a second ago, I think Charlie was trying to make a joke about the size of the flag, and that may or may not have been appropriate. But then it kind of went...
What may or may not be appropriate? It's not appropriate to make a joke about the size of a flag. They're not insulting the flag. They're not insulting the UK. They're making a joke about the size of the flag. How could somebody be offended? These people, these are the people who would say, oh my God, we have these snowflakes who are offended by everything. Today they're offended by this. Tomorrow they're offended by that. And they're whining about somebody making fun of the size of a flag. They're not making fun of the flag. They didn't say, oh, look at the strange colors on this flag, or look at how there's a cross, and there's one cross overlaps the other. They're not making fun of the flag. They're making fun of the guy who's trying to compensate for his lack of patriotism with a piece of fabric.
Went into the giggling and the not just the flag, they got the Queen there as well, as if there was something funny and weird about that.
It was the size of the portrait. And of course, he put... Do these people not understand why he did that? He could have put his webcam in any direction, but of course he put it in a direction where he got the flag and the portrait together. I don't even know if that portrait was always there. It could have been just put up on the day. But it was, of course, to demonstrate that he cares about Britain, when in the video I demonstrated that he doesn't care about Britain. He doesn't care about the people of Britain.
Well, that's the thing. So for me, the flag isn't really used as a symbol in this country. It's much more of an American thing. We have become quite Americanized in having flags in the background. That, you know, take it or leave it. I don't mind it. But we have our sovereign, and we should have a portrait of Her Majesty the Queen in the offices, as you rightly said, of Secretaries of State. That is quite a...
But they didn't say that they shouldn't be there. They were saying about the size of the portrait. You know, should it cover the entire wall? Should it be a mural, like in Northern Ireland?
Appropriate, it should be there. But to make a big deal out of it and to look down and...
Who's making a big deal? You're making a big deal out of something that was not a big deal. These people are reacting to something that was nothing. They're making a big deal out of something that was not a big deal. Now, you could probably criticize me for making a big deal out of these people making a big deal out of something that wasn't a big deal. And, you know, that's a reasonable criticism of me. Bogdan, thank you so much for that super chat. I'd be more impressed if he'd shown a big Kong bulge. Okay. Does he have a wig? This guy, he's rolled out every time. I don't know, he's some sort of political commentator or something. It says, yes, I don't know if you can see on the screen. It says conservative commentator. He's basically someone, and maybe I'm being mean here, but I think he's rolled out in order to make racist white people feel better about themselves. To make racist conservatives and Brexiteers feel better about themselves. Because I think he's maybe half black, but he's there to say to the racist Brexiteers and racist right-wingers, it's okay to be racist. And they will use him. I've seen him on numerous occasions where he will say, you know, this isn't racist, or Black Lives Matter are racist, Black Lives Matter are Marxist, Marxist group trying to undermine Britain and stuff like this. He's a Trump supporter as well, as far as I know, a Brexiteer as well. But he's there. He knows that he's able to say things against Black Lives Matter and get away with it. And he can allow, and he can give cover to racists and Brexiteers as well. That's his function. I'm sorry to say, but it's the truth. And and because he's a conservative commentator, he has a position where he's able to criticize the left and get away with it.
noses at it as if it's some kind of strange thing. It's bizarre to me. And I also feel like if it was an EU flag, they wouldn't have batted an eyelid.
It's actually the Council of Europe flag. It's not the EU flag. But if it was the EU, why do you have to bring the European Union into this? There was no mention of the European Union. Oh, if it was the EU flag, they wouldn't have battered it. If there was a huge EU flag, well, it's not the EU flag, but it's the Council of Europe flag, the European flag. If it was a huge one and somebody made a joke about it, what do you think this guy would have said in response? If anyone had said anything else, he would have been saying, "Oh, what's wrong with criticizing the size of this European flag? These people are hacks. They're partisan. If Boris Johnson's team is doing something, they will defend it. If it's the Labour Party doing something, they will attack it. That's it. If the right is doing something horrible, they will defend it. If the left is doing something horrible, they will attack it. It could be exactly the same thing. These people are hacks. They don't care about objectivity."
It is very much an anti-British sentiment.
Yeah, I did.
Anti-British sentiment. So I'm still struggling to understand where the anti-British part is. A government minister had a huge flag behind him, or a small flag, depending on which way you look at it. Small and far away, like Father Ted. And they made a joke about the size of the flag, and this is somehow anti-British. I'll never understand these people. Anyway, let's get back to the comments. It's attacking the other team. Yes, exactly, John G. The irony of picking on Naga too. Yeah, they picked on her because they allowed the guy who actually started the criticism was white, and she's black, so they criticized her. I'm pretty sure there were some people on Twitter saying she should go back to her own country or something like that. I'm anti-fascist, not the same at all. Leo Sayer started off as a clown. Jeff still hasn't got a flag, bless him. Yes, Jeff, I'm still waiting for Jeff to put a flag behind him. I'm quite disappointed. The small flag is far away. Did Boris have a flag in the background when he's having his jab? If not, he must resign. Yes. Boris is not a true patriot. Although maybe he has, enough patriot points that cover him for when he doesn't have his flag. He can build up patriot points. So, these things really exist, guys. You think it's a joke. No, it's true. You can build up patriot points, and then when you have a certain amount of patriot points, you can spend them, and spending them is like, doing interviews without a flag. So this guy here probably has a huge number of patriot points, so you don't see a flag there because he doesn't need to have one. He has built up his reserve. Matt Hancock keeps his flag in the doll's house. What? I'm not familiar with that. Boris Johnson wears Union Jack underpants. How do you know that, Tom? Crowdfund to get Jeff a flag. Yeah, we should do that. Bogdan, thank you so much for that super chat. The UKGB would wither in Boris's presence. Yes. Oh my god. Is he wearing earrings? No, they're no, they're those horrible iPods. No, what do you call them? Earpods. The ones from Apple that you stick in your ears that look, I don't know. They remind me of that thing that was in, what was that movie? Something About Mary. I don't know. It just reminds me of Something About Mary. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the film. A particular scene in There's Something About Mary with what was the actor? I forget his name. I can't remember. Does Max's good friend Andre have a flag? Andre has 2 flags. Andre actually AirPods. Thank you very much for that, Anonymous. I was thinking it was earpods, but it could say there's something you can copyright. Behave, Max. You said off 30. Yes, sorry, I shouldn't have called him the wrong name. Does Andre have? Andre actually has. Maybe Andre is being a bit of a rebel because he has. I saw the last time he had a little flag. Ben Stiller, yes. Ben Stiller, exactly. Andre had a little flag which on one side was an American flag and the other was a Union Jack. Now, I'm not a patriot, as you know. But that sounds quite crossing the line. That seems to be crossing the line in my book. No, what do you guys think? Is it crossing the line? Not being a true patriot, actually being an anti-patriot by having on one side the Union Jack and the other side an American flag. Considering the history of the two nations, I'm not sure how Americans would think about that or what they would think of that. I think it was on one side, on the other side, or maybe he had 2 of them in the same cup or something like that. Polar Ant-Man, that's scary. I'm not familiar with that. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. So this flag thing is going to go on for a few days and then it will disappear. But the politicians will continue to have their big flag behind them. And I think you're going to see a growth in flags. You're going to see like 50 flags behind someone. Anyway, let's move on. So Brexit. Okay, so threat of no deal Brexit remains, peers say, as EU relations sour. So this is from the Guardian. It says, and this is from today. It's not something old. This is a bit concerning. Andre has a spud face. No, be kind, be kind. 2 flags, 2 flags, 1 cup. That's terrible, sugar free. Remember, this is a family show, okay? He's got a microphone head. You can't hear. We can't hear you, Max. You can't hear me? Oh no. Is my sound gone? Please tell me, is the sound gone? Someone told me they can't hear me. Brexit is done, Max. Can you hear me? Since when? We can hear you. Okay, so somebody was saying that they can't hear me. Okay, so you can hear me. Good. All right. Family live stream. Okay, so Lords Committee Chair highlights concern EU Parliament may delay trade deal ratification. So the Brexit deal signed in December has been thrown into jeopardy because of the recent breakdown in relations with the EU. An influential House of Lords committee is warning. The European Union Committee says the threat of a no deal remains, with the European Parliament now declining to set a date for its vote on the trade deal sealed on Christmas Eve. Its chairman, Lord Kinnoll, said there were noises coming out of the EU that it might delay ratification beyond the current target of the 30th of April, risking a further escalation of a row over the deal signed less than 3 months ago. The peers' warning in a report to be published on Monday come just days after Brussels launched legal action against the UK, and the European Commission Vice President Maros Sefcovic accused the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab of displaying a total misunderstanding of the Brexit deal. Yes. While the UK has exited the EU, the trade deal is only operational because of an emergency procedure on the EU side, with ratification by the European Parliament due by 30th of April to make it permanently legally binding. While no one expects the deal to be ripped up, the peers, including the former Chancellor Lord Lamont and the former National Security Advisor Lord Ricketts, says the dispute over Northern Ireland reflecting and compound the broader breakdown of trust between the UK government and the EU. So Hi, Tom. Welcome to the stream. This is concerning. But I do think that it will eventually be signed by the European Union. Because I think you have to separate what's happening with the protocol and with the deal. Because while Boris Johnson tried to link the two when he was talking about when he brought in this internal market bill, and there was a risk that it was going to undermine the withdrawal agreement and the Northern Ireland Protocol, the EU treated it as something separate. They said, okay, we're going to take legal action against the UK, but we'll continue the negotiations. So they didn't stop the negotiations. So I don't think this is going to... these two things are separate. So what's happening with Northern Ireland is separate to the actual deal, to a certain extent, of course. But I don't think the EU are going to pull out at the last moment. It could be a tactic to see how things go with Northern Ireland. Say, look, we'll hold off ratifying it until we see how the UK reacts to the legal challenge. But it is concerning at the same time. Now, I was talking about this. There's a video dropping tomorrow, or sometimes I forget what time, because I do so many videos at the same time. I think, yeah, this should be dropping tomorrow. This is about the impact Ireland is suffering because of Brexit. So we have to remember, and I've said this on numerous occasions, the Republic of Ireland did not vote for Brexit, but it's suffering the consequences of Brexit. Brexit blamed for British exports to Ireland falling 65% in January. New customs rules also a factor in a 41% drop in value of goods moving from the UK to the EU. So this, Ireland didn't vote for this, but it's suffering the consequences of this. In the same way that Northern Ireland didn't vote for Brexit, in the same way that, hi James, welcome to the stream, hope you're well. In the same way that Scotland didn't vote for Brexit, but it's still suffering the consequences. And Ireland is in a particular position because it has been trading with the UK for all of its life since the early 1920s. Well, even before that, but when it became a state in the early 1920s, 1921. So it's difficult for the Republic of Ireland to just move away. Monkeytron, who is more scary, the Unionists or the IRA? The IRA are more scary. Because you can't really say the Unionists, you'd have to say the Loyalist paramilitaries, because the Unionists and Loyalists are a bit different. The Loyalists are the more extreme version of the Unionists. But the Loyalists are a smaller group. They don't have the same clout as the IRA have. The IRA are, in a sense, still active, on standby. They have put their weapons beyond use, allegedly, we hope. But in a sense, no, the IRA are scarier because they have bigger numbers. They're more organized. They have moved into politics, most of them, but I think it wouldn't take a lot for them to be reactivated. I hope that's not the case. I hope that doesn't happen. But in Northern Ireland, no, the IRA are a much bigger threat than the Loyalists. I'm not saying that the Loyalist paramilitaries are not a threat. They are, certainly. They still have a lot of weaponry, allegedly put beyond use. That was a requirement of the Good Friday Agreement. Cyprus, great to see you. So, but at the end of the day, it's the IRA, the bigger threat. But yeah, the IRA are not a threat as long as there isn't a border on the island of Ireland. Loyalists had military and police and intelligence services backup. Yes, that's true. Yeah, so there was a huge amount of collusion between Loyalist paramilitaries and the police and security services in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, during the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, and maybe even today, because you have to understand that the police service is I don't know the current figures, but at the During the Troubles, it was 99% Protestant or 95% Protestant. So there was, sympathy for unionism and loyalism in the police force. So there was it made sense that there was, not made sense, but there was it was sure that there was collusion. So, but this story is about the Republic of Ireland. So, trade between the Great Britain and the Republic of Ireland in January plunged by 65% following the end of the freedom of movement of goods because of Brexit, according to new data. The figures followed the Office of National Statistics in Ireland data last week that showed the UK's overall export of goods to the EU slumped by 41% during the same period. 41%. You have to remember, Ireland is deeply dependent on the United Kingdom. This is not like France or Germany or the Netherlands, who can just say, okay, let's switch to another supplier. Ireland is deeply dependent on the UK. Now, I know that's what you're going to hear from Brexiteers is then, well, then why doesn't Ireland just leave the EU then? No, that's not going to happen, and that would be a terrible idea, because Ireland would be out of the single market and the customs union, and it would be exporting. You have to remember that Ireland imports a lot from the UK, but the majority of Ireland's most of Ireland's exports, I should say, are to the United States, to Germany, to the EU. So it imports mostly from the UK. That's going to change. Artemis, great to see you on the stream. Hope you're well. The UK is fecked. Pretty much, yes. So the idea of Ireland joining that fecked state would be insanity. It would gain a little bit, but it would lose a huge amount. 50 flags of shit. That's great. So the new customs export and health certification requirements for goods going from Britain to Ireland have caused major disruption to the flow of cargo, with ferry companies operating on the Holyhead Dublin port route reporting a significant drop in January. And I talked about that on the channel as well, about how there's going to be consolidation in Wales. So I think it's Pembrokeshire, Fishguard and Holyhead are going to consolidate into one port. It's looking more and more likely, because there's less trade, there's less traffic. Figures issued on Thursday by Ireland's Central Statistics Office showed that the trade in food and live animals was hardest hit, with 75% decline in trade, resulting in imports to the Republic falling from 187 million euros to 62 million euros year on year from this January. James, thank you so much for that super chat. Invading Ireland. I sent enough of them. Want more. Thank you very much for that super chat. Yes. Invading Ireland, isn't enough for them. They want more. Brexiteers are happy that Ireland is suffering. So Ireland didn't vote for Brexit, and of course Scotland and Northern Ireland either, but Brexiteers are happy. Jeff, it seems, is quite happy that the Republic of Ireland is suffering the consequences of Brexit. How is that ever, I'm not joyful that certain business owners are going under because of Brexit, even though they voted for it. But I certainly wouldn't be gleeful for somebody who's suffering the consequences of something they didn't vote for. There are people in the UK who didn't vote for Brexit. They're suffering the consequences of Brexit. I'm not happy about that. But Brexiteers are happy about that. I really don't understand that. I voted to make you worse off, and I'm happy about that. It's psychotic behavior. Andy, thank you so much for that super chat. Hi, Max. Problem as I see it, Ted, is that once it's obvious the UK has no control over borders, how can the Republic of Ireland control the quality of goods coming from Northern Ireland? No, I'm not sure I understand your question. The problem as I see it is that once it's obvious the UK has no control over borders, how can the Republic of Ireland control the quality of goods coming from Northern Ireland? But they'll have to reinforce the border checks in Northern Ireland. This will have to be sorted out. Well, unfortunately, Jeff did mention something that could possibly happen, and that would be that the EU would... Now, I don't think this is likely. I think it's extremely unlikely. It's not impossible. It'd be the worst case scenario that there would be border checks put in Rosslare, which is in the Republic of Ireland. So the island of Ireland would be outside the single market and the customs union in order to protect the single market. Now, I don't see that happening, because that would be the EU literally kicking Ireland out of the single market in order to protect the single market, even though Ireland didn't want to be kicked out. It's not like Ireland voted to leave the single market. But I don't really see that happening. I think it's going to be a case of the UK have to do their job. If they don't do their job, there will be sanctions. I don't see them kicking Ireland out of the single market, because this would create other problems. This wouldn't be good for the integrity of the European Union. Thanks for that. I hope I answered your question there, but I think the EU would prefer to put more pressure on the UK to do its job according to the protocol. If the UK decides to leave the protocol, to tear up the protocol, then we're into uncharted territory. This would be a case of breaking the withdrawal agreement, and then there'd be some sort of sanctions. And then we would have to we'd be into very strange territory there. But I don't see the UK doing that. It would be pariah state. And Boris Johnson has threatened to do it, but I don't see him doing it. So we can see here that, you can see here the Central Statistics Office, Ireland says, so imports from Great Britain fell by 65% in January 2021. Overall exports from Britain to Ireland dropped from 1.4 billion euros to 497 million, with significant decreases also in mineral fuels, chemicals, and transport equipment. It means that the Republic of Ireland will try to source from the EU, but that takes time, it takes effort, it's expensive. You can't just recreate supply networks, supply chains overnight, or even over a couple of months. These supply chains have been built up over years, decades even. That's why the Republic of Ireland didn't want Brexit. They were very much against Brexit, because they're suffering the consequences of it as well. And even though Brexiteers at the time said, when Ireland was talking about we're going to suffer the consequences, the response from Brexiteers was, that's Project Fear. Bogdan, thank you so much for that super chat. Now we have happy fish, unicorns, and nukes. Yes. Oh my God. 40 million or 40 billion? I don't remember. It's probably 40 million. 40 million for more nukes. And isn't it interesting that these nukes will not be, anywhere near Westminster? They will be in Scotland, where the Scottish people can't do anything about it. UK always wants world to follow their lead. Yes, I think so. They want other countries to leave the EU as well. Brexiteers are not happy until Ireland leaves, France leaves, Italy leaves, the Netherlands leaves. Every day they're coming up with new stories about how this country wants to leave the EU. The EU is about to collapse. The EU has been about to collapse since the 1990s. I remember stories about the EU is about to collapse, before the year 2000. Before the year 2010, the EU will have collapsed. Before 2020, the EU will have collapsed. Okay. Let's move on. We have Dominic Raab. So Dominic Raab accuses EU of trying to erect Irish sea border. So I actually talked about this in one of the videos. The British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has been accused has accused the EU of trying to erect a border down the Irish Sea. As he told a US audience, does he not actually understand that, okay, I'm going to tell the Americans that the EU is putting a border in the Irish Sea. Nobody's going to find out. Is this how he thinks? So as long as the Americans don't mention anything to the EU, and nobody sees this interview, then I'll be okay. This is probably going through his head, That's why I never say too much on the stream, because there's 360 people listening. And not all 360 people smash that like button, so smash that like button. Anyway, let's continue. So the British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has accused the EU of trying to erect a border down the Irish Sea, as he told a US audience that it was the EU that had been doing most to threaten the Northern Ireland Protocol and damage the Good Friday Agreement. But of course he didn't explain how. His remarks came at the end of the set-piece speech at the Aspen Forum, in which he extolled Britain as a force for good, determined to build a broader caucus of nations ranged against the dangerous minority determined to ransack the international system. His Northern Ireland remarks prompted the pro-Irish Congressman Brendan Boyle. Can you get any more Irish than that, Brendan Boyle? To maybe Brendan O'Neill. No, that's a different guy. To ask whether the UK was going to continue unilaterally delaying the implementation of the protocol. Boyle said that the UK had twice now taken unilateral action with respect to delaying the Northern Ireland Protocol. He asked if the UK government was going to continue with this disruptive cycle. Raab said, "It is the EU that is trying to erect a border down the Irish Sea, because the Northern Ireland between Northern Ireland and Great Britain, that is challenging the spirit of the Northern Ireland Protocol and the Good Friday Agreement." Okay, and I said in the video, he doesn't understand the Northern Ireland Protocol and he doesn't understand the Good Friday Agreement, if he said that. Now, I want to open this up to you guys. Do you believe that Dominic Raab doesn't understand the the Good Friday Agreement, or he's pretending not to understand the Good Friday Agreement? So tell me in the comments, do you believe, in the chat, do you believe that Dominic Raab doesn't understand the Good Friday Agreement, or he's pretending not to understand it? Palehorse says Dominic Raab is a man so dim he thought the Good Friday Agreement was signed. Northern Ireland fishermen are getting a lot of their fish quota taken and given to the Scots fishermen by the UK government. Check it out, Max. Thanks for that, Anthony. I must check. It's both. A little of A and B. B, pretending. Probably doesn't understand it. What's the difference? Good point, yes. I heard that Boris is going to implement legislation to make wine from the EU uncompetitive, appealing to the British to prefer national wines. How true is that? Look, I've never tasted British wine, English wine, but I think you're going to have to wait another few years for the effects of climate change to make it more palatable, I imagine. I live in Italy and we have very good wine here, so he's thick. He understands it, but he's getting in the way of the truth. Yes, yeah, I think. Look, he's a politician. I find it really difficult to imagine that he hasn't read the Good Friday Agreement. Raab is fully stupid. British wine. Keep it that way, Max. Anyone who's on the console is saying British wine, what? Now, if you try to sell British wine the only way you sell British wine to Italians would be to call it vinegar. No offense, but British wine is vinegar, says Ends of the God. EU wine versus UK wine. Jeff Taylor is an English wine. I don't understand Raab, so stop asking difficult questions, Max. Is there even climate for grapes up there? No, it's getting warmer in the UK, definitely. So it may become a place to grow grapes in the future. One of the benefits, at a huge cost, but one of the small benefits of climate change. British wine is only used to make vinegar. I'm just embarrassed that he's a lawyer. How did he? I think he bought his way. His dad probably said, "Here's a load of money, help him pass the bar." Let's maybe you can become maybe he's what do you call it, an honorary lawyer. His dad gave a huge amount of money to a university, and they said, "Okay, Dominic Raab is now a lawyer." I don't see any other way he could have achieved it, unless he was an intelligent person. He had some sort of accident. He fell off a ladder or something, and now this is the way he is. Bogdan, Italian wine is so soft. No, you haven't tasted the real thing then. Looks bad for UK worldwide to break an agreement. Yes, James. That's why I've never believed that Boris Johnson would break the withdrawal agreement. It's just it would be too damaging. He'll make threats. Boris Johnson will make threats, and he'll think it will work, because he's not thinking long term. He's just thinking short term. But he understands that if he was to break some sort of international agreement like the withdrawal agreement, and because of the impact it's going to have on Northern Ireland, he would become a persona non grata in America, for example, and in the Republic of Ireland. So he wouldn't. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's extremely unlikely that he would break the international trade deal. Thanks, James, for that super chat. So it goes on to say, he added that, "I hope that our friends on the Hill and all sides, on all sides of the House and both houses, are equally robust in picking up when the EU undermines the agreement." Of course, he didn't say how, when the EU is undermining the agreement, in what way? This is why I would love to be a journalist. I wouldn't last very long, but I would ask why, how did they break the agreement? Please tell us, how did they break the agreement? Then he wouldn't speak to me ever again. He said the brief invocation. Yes. He said the brief invocation of Article 16 of the withdrawal agreement by the EU had created huge tensions across the community. Okay, but they didn't invoke it. They didn't invoke Article 16, so he was lying here. This is not Parliament, Dominic. You can't lie on TV. Well, you can lie on TV, but you shouldn't lie on TV. Bogdan, thank you so much for that. If the EU wins trial, the credit rating will drop. I'm surprised it hasn't dropped already. Thanks for that super chat. Yes, but it will drop. There will be, and the worst thing about the credit rating dropping is that it's very difficult to get it back up again. It has a good credit rating at the moment. That would be extremely. This is one of the ways that the EU could really punish not so much the country. Well, it would of course damage the country, but it would be extremely embarrassing for senior politicians. And I think that's the way the EU will act. If they're not going to punish the UK, they'll try to punish politicians and make it extremely embarrassing for them. So they're playing games with the wrong people. So he went on to say, Raab said the most overt political threat to the agreement and ultimately the Good Friday Agreement has been the politicized way the EU has gone about things. How has the EU politicized this? He also questioned whether the EU had made the same level of unequivocal commitment as the UK on refusing to set up any border infrastructure. But it's in Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is part of the UK. How is it the EU? If the EU if the EU wanted to build infrastructure in Northern Ireland, who would be complaining about it? Who would be complaining about it? The Unionists would be complaining. How dare the EU build foreign infrastructure on our territory? Does he not understand this? This is the responsibility of the UK government. Some of the staff may be from the EU, but the infrastructure has to be completed by the UK. That's their responsibility. With the EU threatening legal action against the UK, Rob said, we will still be wrestling with the Northern Ireland Protocol and trying to make it work. What's to wrestle with? You have a responsibility. You agreed to it. You signed up on it. You signed to it. You can't say, you know, it's a problem now. Why did you agree to it if you thought it was a problem? This is the thing that doesn't make any sense. The EU said, okay, we've agreed to the protocol. The EU have never said we have a problem with the protocol. At no point has the EU said the protocol is a problem. The only people who have a problem with the protocol are on the British side, including the unionists. Now, I don't know whether Boris Johnson and Dominic Raab truly have a problem with the protocol. I think they're pretending to have a problem with the protocol. But they can't truly have a problem with it because they signed the protocol. They agreed with it. They pushed it through Parliament. My God. At what stage will these people stop telling lies? Then at a summit, so Biden is hosting a virtual bilateral with the Irish Premier Micheál Martin, where alongside the celebrations there is bound to be exchanges about the British approach to the Northern Ireland Protocol. Ahead of the summit, Biden spoke about the deep affection Americans have, particularly Irish Americans, for Ireland, adding it was strongly critical to maintain the Good Friday Agreement, the 1998 peace deal for Northern Ireland. Administration officials at a briefing reminded reporters that Biden on the campaign trail had warned that the agreement must not be a casualty of Brexit. Although the senior officials said the US was not taking sides in the dispute between Ireland and the UK, they stressed that the Northern Ireland Protocol was legally binding. And that makes sense. Like, you know, we will support the protocol, we will support peace in Northern Ireland, but we're not getting involved between the Republic of Ireland and Great Britain, because it's not our place to get involved. But if we feel that one side is breaking the Good Friday Agreement, we're going to come down hard on that. We're going to support the other side. And who wants to break the protocol? Once again, and this is a question to Brexiteers, have the EU broken the protocol? Now, if you're going to say, well, they were thinking about invoking Article... No, that's not breaking the protocol. Anyway, Article 16 is there to protect the protocol. It's a safety measure for the protocol, so you don't have to suspend the protocol. The only people who have a problem with the protocol are on the British side, and I include the unionists in that. Anyway, guys, we're halfway through the stream, so I want to take a little break and we'll have our funny moment. But before we get to that, I just want to read more of your comments. Whiskey is Scottish or Canadian. Whiskey with an E is Irish or American. Very good point. See, never say that you never learn anything on this stream. I talk twaddle, but there's a lot of very useful information in the chat. Has anyone tasted mead? Yes, mead is amazing. I love mead. Mead is gross, says Mark. I know what's behind Jeff Taylor's curtains. Oh, pale horse. Don't keep us in suspense. What is behind the curtain? Is there a man behind the curtain? Danish whiskey. That's interesting. I must try. I must have a look online for some Danish whiskey. I'm beginning to think Brexit is not a good idea. Only now, Adrian. Oh, you're... Are you sure? Maybe we need to believe a bit more. Maybe if you believe a bit more in Brexit, then it will succeed. Do you remember that, when you had to believe in Brexit? James, thank you so much for the super chat. They're playing a silly game against real law. My problem, I think this is my problem with politicians, is that I believe that deep down, I believe that they're not stupid. And that they're more intelligent than myself, of course. And that they don't make stupid mistakes like this. That this is some sort of game that they're playing. That this is 4D chess. and that I just don't understand it. And unfortunately, on many occasions, I'm proven wrong. They're not playing 4D chess, and they are stupid. And they do stupid things. And we've seen throughout Brexit that they have done hugely stupid things that have been extremely damaging to the country, to both the UK, to Ireland, to the EU itself. But I think, yes, they are playing games, hoping that they will convince the EU to back down. But I think that when they see that they're not getting they're not making the progress that they hope, I think that they will eventually back down and distract the public. That's Boris Johnson's response to criticism, to disaster. Just distract the public. Talk about something else. Talk about statues. See, whenever there's a problem, we have this pressure on nurses. We're getting this pressure from nurses and NHS staff to pay them a decent wage, pay them a decent bonus, pay increase, at least above the level of inflation. And the government were under severe pressure. And what happened? We heard about statues. Oh, what about the statues? We need to roll out a law to protect statues. A distraction. Talk about the royal family instead of talking about corruption. This has always been the case. The media will run a story to protect the government from criticism and scrutiny. Andy McAvoy, thank you so much for that super chat. Exactly, Max. Maybe the UK can drag its feet and not set up proper controls in the north. Then what? EU will start to think they need to check all goods from Ireland, leave ridge for Brexit government. I don't know if that would happen, because that would be the last possible stage. At the very last stage, they would do something like that. I think there would be a number of measures before. So the UK is not fulfilling the protocol. Sorry, the withdrawal agreement requirements. It needs to build infrastructure, and it is going to build the infrastructure. That infrastructure is being built at the moment, so it's not like they have decided we're not going to do anything. I think there will be pressure. See, we also have to remember that it's not just Boris Johnson deciding. There are people around him. There are people within the civil service who understand. Look, we have to do our job. We have required. The government may say something, but behind the scenes, they'll be probably telling us we have to do this. If you look at what happened recently in Northern Ireland, where Boris Johnson was telling the public there will be no border in the Irish Sea. If anyone sends you a document, send it to me. If anyone asks you to fill out a document, send it to me and I'll tear it up and throw it in the bin. Now, Boris Johnson knew when he was saying that it was a lie. Because at the very moment he was saying that, his government was preparing the bureaucracy for goods travelling from Great Britain to Northern Ireland. He knew at that moment what he was doing was telling a lie. And he still told it. Because he knew that what he tells the public and what he tells the civil service is completely different. And I think what's going on here is that in front of the cameras, they have to appear tough. Yeah, it's the EU, that's the problem. We need to punish the EU. The EU is breaking the protocol. It's not us. We're going to support businesses in Northern Ireland. We're going to make sure that goods arrive. This is just talk as far as this is my take on it. I think it's just talk. And maybe a little bit of action, but at the end of the day, there is an administration, and the administration are asking, well, what do we have to do? And they'll be told behind the scenes, start building infrastructure. Because we can try and put it off, but there's no real benefit in putting it off. And it'll be just embarrassing later on. We have to remember that the politicians will change, but the civil service remain. And the civil service don't want all these problems. So... But I'm not a civil servant. I'm not in contact with civil servants, so I could be wrong here, but this would be my gut feeling. Andy, thank you so much for that super chat again. The press of the Irish Road Hauliers Association has said that the officials at the port in France have treated Irish hauliers like they're coming from England. That's not right. That's not right. Are you talking about the ones who are traveling from Ireland to France, or the ones who are traveling through the UK? But either way, it's not fair to treat them like that. Anyway, like, treating the English haulage company with disrespect is not on either. The lorry drivers didn't vote for Brexit. I'm pretty sure. They're just ordinary people doing their job, so they should be treated with respect, either if they're coming from England or not. But I understand that because of Brexit, it's putting a lot of stress and strain on people who are working at the ports, and perhaps, when people are under a lot of stress, they may not be very polite, to say the least. So, guys, let's. Can you dim your Twitter? Oh, okay. I will do that. Andy's asking. I will dim my Twitter. But this is not Twitter. This is another. This is The Guardian. But I'll see about doing that. Let me see. Let's go to our funny video for now from YouTube.
And we built up empires.
So this is Eddie Izzard on flags. So enjoy.
And we built up empires. We stole countries. That's what you do. That's how you build an empire. We stole countries with the cunning use of flags. Yeah. You just sail around the world and stick a flag in. I claim India for Britain. And they go, you can't claim us. We live here. 500 million of us. Do you have a flag? We don't need a bloody flag. It's our country, you bastard. No flag, no country. You can't have one. That's the rules that I've just made up. And I'm backing it up with this gun that was lent from the National Rifle Association. That was it,
Okay, let's move on.
They all say...
So, Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson, of course, got his jab. I think it's the first jab. I love Eddie Izzard as well, yes. That's pretty... Ouch, my ears. I'm sorry, UBI. Maybe if there was some sort of economic system to save your ears. Flags for the win. Trevor Noah did the scene well. I didn't know that Trevor Noah did that scene as well. Is that Jeff on the right? Okay, let's get to Boris.
They all say this, but she said, I had a wonderful nurse called Lily, and she said, you're going to feel a shock. So I literally did not feel a thing. And
why does he always have to lie? Of course he felt something. Maybe the nurse who gave him the shot wasn't even called Lily. Take that wig off. Yeah, I got... Okay, let's go.
And so it was very good, very quick, and you know what I'm going to say. I cannot recommend it too highly. Everybody...
James, thank you so much for that super chat. You see Priti Patel making it a crime to live. Yes. It's becoming a fascist state, unfortunately. Trevor Noah's accents are excellent. Not a huge fan of Trevor Noah. I think some of his things are quite funny, but he felt a prick. I love this chat. I love this chat because you guys have great lines. Is he talking about the fishing industry? Lily is his bit on the side. Does Carrie know about that? Did he have his mask Did he have his mask tailor-made? He's been going around with his bloody mask under his nose recently, so Lily the pig. Who was the last European leader who didn't like gypsies? I'm not sure what that's about. Very unpatriotic. Yeah, there's no flag here. Does anyone see a flag behind Boris Johnson? Shouldn't he have one like attached to his back, like those Japanese samurai? You know, when they go into battle, they'd have a rucksack and a flag in the rucksack. We didn't see his lips move. Is he lying? He's lying. Okay. I'm going to go with my gut, and Boris Johnson is lying. Max, are you're not a huge fan of Trevor? Eek. Let me dislike this. No. I like him, but I had a soft spot for the guy before on the Daily Show. What was his name? Oh, damn it! I forget his name now. He had done the Daily Show for 20 years or something. Jon Stewart. I had a soft spot for Jon. I love Jon Stewart, so I think replacing Jon Stewart with anyone was a sort of disappointment. So maybe it's not fair to treat Trevor Noah as a replacement for Jon Stewart. Anyway,
when you do get your notification to go for a jab, please go and get it. It is the best thing for you, best thing for your family, and for everybody else. Thanks very much, everybody.
What do you say to people who are nervous because of all the COVID side effects, however rare they might be?
Yeah, I really don't. I think you should listen. Don't just listen to me. Listen to all the scientists. Listen to what the European Medicines Agency had to say. Yes.
This time last year, Boris Johnson was talking about taking it on the chin. He was talking about shaking hands with people in hospital. How times have changed.
Today, to what the MHRA has said, the risk is COVID. This is a great thing to do. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
From the Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
Okay, so Boris got his jab. He felt a prick. So what is the situation with vaccines? I want to show you this video from Channel 4. I'll just load the video and then I just want to read some of your comments. So the situation with vaccines is a bit all over the place. He said European health agencies. Listen to the EMA, that's a first. Yeah, I was like, maybe I misheard him. Let me see. Yeah, Bozo should use diapers in front of his mouth instead of a mask. That's it. I'm not getting vaccinated now. Who has had their second? Who here has their second? Yeah, a lot of people have received the first jab, but not the second one. Well, Olifeld was a prick for a while. Give me John Oliver, he's good. Remember, he didn't take the jab, he took the hydroxychloroquine, because Trump said it was better. Your boy is here. Hi, Ad. Hope you're well. I was unwell after AstraZeneca vaccine. So my dad in Ireland received his vaccine yesterday, and it was the Pfizer jab. And Mrs. Max received her vaccine on Monday, and it was the Moderna here in Italy. So my dad in Ireland, he's over 80. He received the Pfizer yesterday, I think it was. And he feels fine. And Mrs. Max received the Moderna, and she felt a bit weird for a day, but after that she was pretty much okay. I haven't received anything yet. I'm too young. Yes, I have to wait a bit. Probably like most of the people on the stream. We're all young people on the stream, I imagine. He needs a jab. Then a right hook. FSM is the dog, yes. But who would give it? Would it be Joe Green? Thanks so much for that. Would it be Keir Starmer who gave the right hook? Thanks, Riel, as well.
Little fires everywhere. The fate for AstraZeneca as their COVID vaccine faces repeated scrutiny, far more than others it would seem. Some European countries had to back down over claims that it wasn't safe for over 65s. There remain concerns over its efficacy with the South African variant, and the latest has been whether it causes blood clots. Today, though, the European Medicines Agency declared it safe, opening the way for dozens of European countries to restart their vaccinations.
The committee has come to a clear scientific conclusion. This is a safe and effective vaccine.
Look, I'm not defending the European Union here, okay? But if there were issues with it, it's important that it was sorted out. Because the problem is that if somebody had received the jab and there were concerns that, for example, it caused blood clots, and that person had died, then the country who issued the jab would be held responsible, and somebody could go to prison for that. That's why there was a break put on, because nobody wanted to go to prison for someone dying because they had said that the jab is okay when there were questions. Because imagine what happened imagine a scenario, now thankfully that this did not happen, but imagine if the government had said, look, let's go ahead and issue this vaccine, even though there are concerns about blood clots. We don't have all the data yet, but there are concerns. And the government went ahead and said, let's issue the vaccine anyway. And somebody died because of a blood clot. Then the Prime Minister or the Health Minister or whoever responsible in that country could be liable for the death of that person. So if you think about it in that way, then it sort of makes sense for them to hold back until the European Medicines Agency said, yes, it's okay. I'm not defending the European Union here. I'm not defending the European Medicines Agency. I just think it was a position taken by individual countries that we don't want to be sued.
Its benefits in protecting people from COVID-19 with the associated risks of death and hospitalisation outweigh the possible risks. The committee also concluded that the vaccine is not associated with an increase in the overall risk of thromboembolic events or blood clots.
They are still investigating rarer cases, and here the regulator, the MHRA, is also looking at 5 reports of cerebral sinus vein thrombosis following the AstraZeneca jab, all in men aged between 19 to 59, one of whom has died.
The causal relationship with the vaccine has not yet been established, and the rate of occurrence of these CSVT events among the 11 million people vaccinated is extremely rare. While we continue to investigate these cases, as a precautionary measure, we would advise anyone with a headache that lasts more than 4 days after vaccination or bruising beyond the site of vaccination after a few days to seek medical attention.
But if that is the science, there is also the politics. And again, AstraZeneca finds itself at the centre, unwittingly perhaps, of a row over supply. There was a warning yesterday from NHS England that there will be a shortage in April, though if you have an appointment, keep it, they said. One suggestion...
Thank you, Johan, for that super chat. Very kind of you. 2 deaths in Norway, 1 in Denmark, 1 in Sweden. Because of the vaccine or because of side effects, or what was that in relation to?
Is the expected doses from the Serum Institute in India have been held up by the Indian government because of rises in local COVID cases. Another was concerns over export delays in raw materials.
The problem with all of this is that we should have worked together as on a global level. This idea that there are different countries competing with each other, blocs competing with each other, United States competing with Europe, Europe competing with the United Kingdom, the United Kingdom competing with the European Union. We should be working together. A task force, the United Nations or the World Health Organization should have organized something with all of the countries and said, we're going to work together to deal with this, to develop the vaccine and get it out to everyone in the world. Because we have to remember that once your country is fully vaccinated, it doesn't mean that you're protected. Because if there are new variants, the vaccine may not be sufficiently potent to deal with these new variants. So you could have your entire country vaccinated. You would say, okay, let's get back to normal again. But if there's a new variant, there's a risk that the vaccine will not protect you against that variant. We need to deal with it on a global level. James, thank you so much for that super chat. If we can trick Boris with tranquilizers. Yeah, I had to convince him to act like a prime minister. New strain, or yes, there is no human kindness, Max. It's finders keepers. I'm afraid you're right. Yes. Reagan Elite. EU exported 35 million vaccines, including 10 million to the UK. And this is one of the problems as well, is that the EU exported vaccines to the UK. The UK did not export any vaccines in return. Now the UK said we're not blocking the sale of, we're not blocking the export, but I think it seems that they've been perhaps putting political pressure on AstraZeneca not to send vaccines out of the country. ED2, thank you so much for that super chat. Deceive Boris and take the Tories out simple as pie. Deceive him with what? With a Greg sandwich? Or a was it a Greg pie? Wasn't that what he was famous for loving? Or maybe a bit of distract him with a young lady, perhaps. That could do it. Or a donation, that might work either.
From the US to India. What is not explained is why the UK is taking the vaccine from the Serum Institute, which is meant to be supplying developing countries. And as if that weren't enough, today the EU announced it will launch a dispute process against AstraZeneca, who they have accused of not fulfilling the contract to supply them the vaccine.
I don't think AstraZeneca has been honest here. The European Union put in an order, then they didn't respect that order. I think the European Union is well within its rights to take AstraZeneca to court. Johan, thank you so much for that super chat. Suspected, not proved, due to vaccine. Women under the age of 55, nurses, wouldn't have died if diseased. Thanks for that super chat. So it's a concern, yes. You don't need to send another super chat, but you can write in the normal chat if you know which vaccine were they using in Norway, or wherever you're in Norway or Sweden.
Today, the head of NHS England, Sir Simon Stevens, received his first dose of the Oxford vaccine. While across the road, the health secretary had another explanation.
In the last week, we've had a batch of 1.7 million doses delayed because of the need to retest its stability.
What?
Events like this are to be expected in a manufacturing endeavour of this complexity.
This was repeated by the Prime Minister himself, who also had some personal news.
As it happens, I'm getting mine tomorrow, and the centre where I'm getting jabbed is currently using the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine for those receiving their first dose, and that is the one I'll be having.
Edie, thank you so much for that super chat by saying how the EU is and get the US in. Thanks for that super chat. Johan says AstraZeneca, Norway 2, Sweden 1, Denmark 1. So it's the AstraZeneca. There seems to be a lot of concern surrounding the AstraZeneca one, more than the Pfizer or the Moderna. Look, a liar.
And the government remains confident that it will meet its target to give the first jab to all those over 50 and people who are clinically vulnerable by April the 15th.
Victoria McDonald reporting. So what is going on with the supply of vaccines from India? Well, earlier I spoke to the Indian journalist Mandakini Galot and I asked her why millions of doses due to be sent to the UK were now being delayed.
The government's position, at least officially on these delays, is that they're not blocking any exports of vaccines and that these delays are linked to export bans that the United States put in place a couple of weeks ago. You know, they say that in order to make these vaccines, they need certain very specialized raw materials like certain filters, certain bags, which can only be procured in large numbers from the United States. And due to the export ban, this has slowed down the entire production line. Now, this is a position that Adar Poonawalla, the CEO of the Serum Institute of India, which is responsible for shipping these vaccines to the UK, he's also taken a similar position. About a month ago, Mr. Poonawalla tweeted where he exhorted world leaders to have patience with delays that were likely to happen because his company, that is the Serum Institute of India, had been asked to prioritize India's domestic needs over exports. It's a position he's walked back from since then.
And what is the situation in India at the moment in terms of deaths, infections and hospitalizations?
Well, we had a fairly calm winter, but now we're starting to notice a massive surge across the country. In fact, yesterday we recorded over 35,000 new coronavirus cases, and that's the highest single-day rise that India has witnessed in over 100 days.
So in India, it's not good. So you can understand that India are limiting the sale or the export of certain products, because they're afraid that they're going to get overwhelmed and they need to vaccinate there. So this, as I said, it should have been organized on a global level, so the WHO could say, okay, we need to prioritize different countries. We need to work with those people on the ground, in the same way that they rolled out the smallpox vaccine. It was a success. They rolled it out in developing nations. Maximilian, Finland is working to develop and bring to market a nasal spray vaccine. Wow, that would be amazing. Wow, I'd love to read more about that. India's having a big flare-up. Yeah, same here as in Europe. We're having a third wave. Okay, let's move on and away from the pandemic to corruption. Well, not exactly corruption, but a bit like corruption. Almost as bad as corruption. It says here, foreign royals and billionaires, billionaire tax exiles, collecting UK's furlough millions. So because of the pandemic, you know, many people are being laid off. Many people are on furlough. And certain billionaires and royals from other countries who have buildings in the UK, and these buildings need to be maintained. Because of the pandemic, these people have been laid off, and instead of actually paying those people, you know, some of them it's like hundreds of pounds. No, they've asked the government to pick up the tab. So it says here, I think this is it. Yes, look at this beautiful home. It says, Gimpton Park is a sprawling 2,000-acre estate featuring an 18th century stately home nestled in the verdant Oxfordshire countryside near Woodstock. It was bought for £8 million in 1992 by Prince Bandar bin Sultan bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud. Okay. Can you imagine having to remember that title every time you meet him? The senior Saudi royal, whose past role including ambassador to the US. He's said to have spent £42 million on renovations, including a peasant shoot and pheasant. Sorry, that was maybe also a peasant shoot. you know, if you have the money, money buys everything. And a bulletproof glass on a driveway to thwart would-be assassins. Wouldn't it be great to have the amount, like, how much money, you know, if somebody says, you know, how much money would you like to have? I'd love to have just enough, but not too much. I don't want to be in the size of assassins. You know, it's like different thresholds. You know, there's like billionaire, and then there's billionaires who are, you know, boss level for video games. You know, I have so much money that there are assassins trying to kill me. No one wants to be that rich. Okay, really, no one wants to be that rich. Anyway, yeah, despite the vast sums showered on the country pile, Clampton Estates Limited, which manages the property and is owned by Bandar, claimed £25,000 of taxpayer-funded furlough support in December last year. The company is just one of more than 750,000 who have tapped into the scheme, slated to cost nearly £66 billion by the time it comes to an end in September. So you have these billionaires, literally billion, people so rich that they need to build glass walls, bulletproof glass walls to stop assassins. They're like James Bond villains, okay? That's how rich they are. Can you imagine? Just think about this look, I shouldn't be laughing at my own jokes, but these things come to mind. Can you imagine a Bond villain who has people on furlough? It's like, you know, was it Dr. No, or what was his name? Goldfinger, or I'm just thinking of the old ones. I can't think of any of the new ones. I'm not a big fan of the new ones, but I remember the old ones from the 60s and 70s. Goldfinger had to lay off some staff and they were put on furlough. And some of them went on to universal credit, you know. I'm not joking about that, but just the absurdity of this. Anyway, bulletproof walls is okay. The company is said to have more than 750,000 to have tapped into this scheme of 66 billion. Some are household names, among them large employers on their knees due to the pandemic. The two largest claimants are the pubs group J.D. Witherspoon, oh yes, Witherspoon, and Mitchells and Butlers, who received between 25 million and 50 million pounds. Wouldn't you think that Mr. Witherspoon, what's his name? Mr. Brexit, he could have, you know, reached into his pocket and paid this. That house is burning. Max is going to get us killed. Smash the dislike. No. I'm immune to assassins. I'm too small fry. Dozens more firms have received more than 1 million, between 1 million and 25 million, including British Airways, Premier Inn, Whitbread, tour operator TUI, and Primark. Under the furlough scheme, the government pays 80% of the employer's wages. Once again, you know, these people are Tim Martin. Thank you so much for that, Kendra. Tory Party treasurer Uhed Sheeleg is claiming furlough for staff who are still working on full wage. Asked for time to pay 220,000 tax he owes, and donates 3.6 million to the party one day before election 19. That's how you get away with. Do you have a tax bill? Pay half of it to, well, not even, he paid like 3.6 million. So it's a lot more than, it'd be cheaper for him to pay his taxes, but he doesn't want to do that. Because paying your taxes doesn't gain you influence. It's a bad investment. It's better investment. Invest in your local Tory MP. The best investment you can make. It's guaranteed return. You know, you get a contract for PPE. The land gentry and all of their friends are born on the big piles of oil and camel waste. Corrupt? Never. Stop talking nonsense, Max. These pillars of our society are any but true pillars. Thank you much, James, for that super chat. Sorry, just in case I don't want to miss one. All royalty should be guillotined. No comment. James, they probably have a gold finger every finger. Yes. Thanks for that. Hedgehog Legs, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. No comment, but support. Thank you so much. But Witherspoons, anyway, let's continue. Cross-reference furlough data, with publicly available information from Company House, reveals that some of the owners, like Bandar, may not be obvious candidates for state support. No, the sums claimed to have been published in bands, starting from 0 to 10,000 and rising to 25 to 50 million pounds. The value of claimants related to only to December. In practice, the total sums may be much higher. Yeah, because it was starting to slow down in December. So, and then there are a whole load of them here. UBI, this could have been avoided with UBI. Look. Well said. Thank you very much for that super chat, UBI. Yes. In regards to furlough, on the serious issue of furlough could be, if we had UBI, we wouldn't need a furlough, because people would receive their £1,000 or €1,000 a month. If you lose your job, well, you still have your furlough. You have your UBI. You can find something else. Like, the government are basically implementing a UBI when they're paying people furlough. You're receiving 80% of your salary during the pandemic. It's been a huge success. Well, not a huge success because it hasn't gone to everyone. It wasn't universal. But can you imagine if everyone received £1,000? I know it's not 80% of most people's salaries, but it is more than some people's salaries. And it's about 80% of some people's salaries, or more or less. So £1,000 a month would go a long way to help a lot of people. It would save a lot of people from in a very bad situation. But most of us, I think, on the stream are fans of UBI, so I'm preaching to the converted here. No organized money system can solve a country's problems. The US kids get a kind of UBI. Have you seen that, Max? I think I talked about it. Maybe Monkeytron, you weren't on the stream last time, but there was a video I covered last time I think it was last week or this week. I don't remember. Maybe on Tuesday we talked about UBI. A new close relative of the royals, as a Harrow sixth former. They would bribe a local pub a local in the pub with £25, give him 30 minutes start, and start off with the shotguns. My God, is that a joke? Please tell me that's a joke. Make UBI a command. For you from Finland, please stick to English, thanks. Is that Jacob Rees-Mogg's holiday shack? Jacob Rees-Mogg wouldn't be seen dead in a flat like that. You consider that as a, probably somewhere where he would punish his children. You'd have to stay in some godforsaken place like this as a punishment. I'm off, everyone. Thanks. Have a great fun. Thank you so much, thanks so much, Sugar Free, for coming on. Hope have a great weekend. Why stop at UBI? Maybe we should rethink currency. We could get free stuff like in Star Trek. I think Star Trek is a very good model, actually. Some people are critical of Star Trek, but I think something like that. We move away from a monetary system. We have make a command for me. How rustic. Rough around the edges, but it would do. We could replace the money system with something, a society where we actually make sure that everyone has everything that they need, almost everything that they desire. It wouldn't be perfect. I know some people are critical of the idea of something like Star Trek, but there aren't any poor people in Star Trek. Have you noticed? Is it David Cameron's shed? Okay, let's continue. I want to show you now. What's interesting is what's happening in Scotland at the moment. A bit concerning, actually, that the Labour Party. The Labour Party are Keir Starmer in particular has been calling for Nicola Sturgeon to resign if she broke the ministerial code. Now, what's also interesting is that other ministers in the UK government have broken the ministerial code, and he hasn't called for them to resign. Why?
Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
But did this Holyrood committee believe her? Not according to a leak that rocked Scottish politics last night, suggesting that the First Minister had misled Parliament, leading to fresh calls for her resignation and a wave of damning headlines. Nicola Sturgeon has been under mounting pressure over how she and other officials handled allegations of sexual misconduct against the former First Minister, her old boss and mentor, Alex Salmond. And for two people who were once so close, their version of events couldn't have been further apart when they gave evidence to MSPs earlier this month.
She gave me every indication, as I would have expected, from somebody I'd known over that period of time, that if it was proper to assist, that she would do so.
I had no intent.
Look, I'm not an expert on this, but it seems to me that Alex Salmond was a creep, and Sturgeon wanted to see him punished because he was a creep. And Alex Salmond took that quite personally. I'm a creep, and you're trying to punish me because I'm a creep. And, what is she guilty of? Going too far, perhaps?
Intention of intervening, and crucially, I did not intervene.
On that issue of whether she offered to intervene to help Mr Salmond, the committee concluded that she had misled them and by extension the Scottish Parliament, according to reports that emerged following a meeting last night. It could mean that she broke the ministerial code, but that will be decided by a separate inquiry.
Everybody in Scotland has to have faith that the people that are leading Scotland, the ministers and the First Minister, are telling the truth. We think that if she had any integrity at all, the First Minister would be considering her position today.
If you take out personality and you take out party, if you have a breach of the ministerial code and a misleading of Parliament, you would expect that minister to resign.
In a statement, the First Minister was defiant, with a spokesman insisting that she had told the truth and stands by every word of her evidence, and accusing the committee of baseless assertion, supposition and smear that had exposed their base political motives. A damaging few weeks, but will it hurt the SNP?
Some people believe that Alex Salmond is actually working for the Tories.
In the Scottish elections in May.
To be honest, I can't see it making a huge difference to the general outcome of the vote, but we'll see.
She's becoming less trustworthy, I think.
I would keep it in mind, but I don't think it would overly sway my opinion.
Could you balance it up with how well she's handled the pandemic and stuff? So you need to look at all aspects of it, I think.
It looks inconceivable that any party other than the SNP is going to emerge as the largest party. The crucial question is whether or not the SNP on their own get an overall majority. Because if they do, then they will have repeated what they achieved in 2011. In the wake of that, the then UK government under David Cameron accepted they had a moral right to hold a referendum. So
it does seem that if they don't win a majority, the Conservatives in Westminster will see this as an opportunity to say, look, they didn't win a majority, so the Scottish people didn't give them don't support independence in the way that in the way they did perhaps in 2011, and we can get away with denying them a referendum.
It's not about who wins, it's about whether or not the SNP wins well enough.
She has spent her political career fighting for independence. Now that could all be at risk as she fights for her own survival. And the next battle is just around the corner, with the ministerial code ruling and the formal release of the committee's findings both due early next week.
Frankly, I don't think it's going to damage her. But I think it's also important to remember the SNP. So while she's the leader of the SNP, and even if she is damaged, I don't think it's going to damage the party. So it's the party that's running, yes, she's the leader of the party. In the same way that and I'm not comparing the two, but if Boris does something bad, Boris may pull on the party. But if the public can separate Boris from the party, then the party are happy. If the SNP, in a sense, if they feel that Sturgeon is pulling on the party, they'll try to distance the party from her. But I don't see them doing that at the moment. I think the way when she came out of the hearing, when she gave her evidence, support for her actually went up. There was a flurry of people joining the SNP. So I think a lot of this is wishful thinking from the sides of the Conservatives and the Labour Party. I think they're hoping that this will damage, and they're trying to create a narrative that she's weakened, because they understand the whole point of perception. If she's perceived to be weak, then she will be weakened. But if the public perceive her to be strong, then she'll be strong. So 10,000 plus new members. So I think that's a ringing endorsement. Okay, let's move on. I just wanted to touch on that. Sorry, just read the super chat. James, thank you so much for that super chat. Value of work system based on the value of economy. Yes. The idea that we have people like influencers who receive a huge amount of money for doing nothing. We need to go back to a situation where we paid people. Oh no, sorry, I made a mistake here. Where we paid people for doing jobs that were valuable to society. So yeah, we need a value of work system based on the value of the economy. I think I'm going to get some sleep now. Okay, thanks so much, Tom, for coming on. Great to have you on the stream. So this was an interesting story. It's not something I generally talk about, but cyber threats from deepfakes. I think this was extremely interesting. I wanted to share it with you.
Yeah, Shep, as I talk here, take a look at some of these images. These are pictures from a website that's called thispersondoesnotexist.com. None of these people here are real. All of them were generated by a neural network using a new technique called GAN. And it's fake pictures like these, along with fake video and fake audio, that represent a new type of cyber threat to American businesses. The FBI this week is warning companies about the dangers of these kinds of deep fakes. In the new alert, the FBI said the threats include synthetic corporate personas and sophisticated emulations of an existing employee.
So you can imagine if Boris Johnson was deepfaked, how would we tell if he was lying or not?
Now, the Bureau said this is going to cause very significant financial and reputational impacts to victim businesses. And all of it means the cyber threats of the next couple of years are going to make today's spear phishing emails and business frauds look quaint by comparison. Now, Nina Schick wrote the book, Deepfakes, The Coming Infocalypse, as she calls it, and she warns that CEOs themselves are particularly at risk here.
Yes, there's a real risk that somebody, you could take a video of a CEO of a company like Jeff Bezos or whatever, and you could produce a video of him talking about something like, yeah, I'm going to pay everyone a minimum wage of $15 an hour or $20 an hour. And that would be extremely damaging because you could put it up on YouTube and people would think it's real, and then he would have to correct it. But he'd be forced to correct it in a negative way. He would, no, I'm not going to pay everyone $15 an hour. That was fake. But he would start a conversation. I think there's some positives from this, but there are also some deep negatives as well.
If you are in the public eye as a business leader, you presumably have content out there on the internet of you either delivering a speech, talking to your employees, on an earnings call. That is all training data, which can be used to basically create AI to hijack your biometrics. So that puts you in a really vulnerable position.
And she says the pandemic work-from-home world with all of its Zoom and Teams video meetings makes us all more vulnerable than we've ever been before. For now, the FBI says you can still spot certain flaws in the fake videos, like in this photo from their warning notification, where you can spot flaws around the ears that might not be perfectly formed or some blurriness in the overall image.
What are you talking about? The ears are not fully formed? I don't know. Some people have weird ears. And then it says here the eyes. Yeah, so you can see that the eyes are a little bit different. But people have different eyes. No, not everyone's eyes are exactly the same. And then there's some blurriness. But would people be able to pick up on that? I wouldn't be able to pick up on that. I think the FBI have a very high threshold here.
Soon, though, it's going to be impossible for the human eye to tell what's real and what's fake. So what Nina Schick says is that companies should train employees to be critical without being cynical about every image they see online. Because these days, Shep, seeing may not any longer be believing.
Okay, so I thought that was an interesting story. The sex industry, internet is played by it. Yes, that's an interesting... Please don't tell me that there's going to be Boris Johnson... particular videos now. People be putting Boris Johnson's head in places where Boris Johnson should never be. We're all hologram from another universe. Catch up. Very good point, Monkeytron. Some countries have some have different colored eyes too. Yes, there are many people who have different colored eyes. Porn is going to start getting really freaky. Even more freaky than before. They're talking crap, trying to terrorize viewers into becoming technophobes. I think there is this aspect of it, like, be afraid. When, it was similar when the internet was, first arrived. They were like, oh, people will be buying things on the internet. That would be really weird. And your credit card details will be stolen and you will be homeless and, you'll lose everything. No, that didn't really happen. So, but it's a way of selling, getting people to click. But there are certain concerns, definitely. But it's more for people who are maybe famous. Okay, let's continue. I just wanted to share this this story. I didn't want to end on a sad note, but this is something that was concerning for me, and it's something that many people we don't actually think about, we don't actually know is happening, and it's very concerning.
So just introduce yourself, please.
Well, my name is Katie. I'm 13 years old, and I look after my mum and my nan.
What's the biggest difference the pandemic has made to you and your role as a young carer?
Biggest difference is that before COVID, I didn't worry about much. I didn't miss much. I felt my life was perfectly normal. But during COVID, it made me realise how different I am, how different my situation is, and how different everything could be.
Katie Allsop from Rhys in South Wales helps care for her grandmother, who's had several falls. She helps dress her, does her hair, helps with meals, and in between schoolwork handles all phone calls for her mother, who has a speech impediment.
Look, when I heard this story, this is a wonderful girl, a wonderful child who's doing an amazing thing for her family. But why is this happening? Why is it necessary for a 13-year-old girl who should be at school, who should be spending time with her friends, acting like a fool on TikTok or whatever it is? This is what young people should be doing. They shouldn't have to look after their parents or grandparents. This is the job of the state. The government should be providing a carer for this old lady and this girl's mother or whoever. It's not her job as a child to look after her parents and grandparents. I was, just to show you, I was looking at some of the comments, and look, I read my comment I wrote here. This is a disgrace. These children should be enjoying their childhood. The state should be providing care for the adults, not the kids. Very mature, blessed be this child, as she will succeed in her life and after. Okay, lots of kids don't even realize they're young carers until they're older. These children are incredible. Okay, yes, they are wonderful children, but that's not fixing the problem. The problem here is that they shouldn't be doing this. This is a failure of the state. How is it possible that a 13-year-old girl is looking after her mother and her grandmother? That's unacceptable. You look after your parents when you're old, not when you're young. I agree 100%, Monkeytron. What? She needs to be compensated massively for this. This is... And what happens is, you're going to see later in the video, she's losing her childhood. She's losing time with her friend. I'm sorry I didn't want to, to be depressing, but this shocked me. She should be spending time with her friends. She should be enjoying her childhood. She should not be doing work, doing the job of a carer. This is the job of the state. The government should be providing a nurse or a carer who goes there, cooks meals, helps the elderly. That's the job of the state. Why are we paying taxes for what? What are we paying taxes for if young people have to look after their own parents? The Tories are the party of small government, yes. Because the Tories want everyone to do things themselves so that they're responsible and that the cost is off them. In other news, they raise taxes and use austerity. There's so many cases like this, Max. It's not something I've ever seen really here. Maybe I've been out of Ireland for so long, but I don't see it here in Italy. Yes, I see it with older people. The older people are normally looked after by their children. The children are in their 50s or in their 60s. If they can't afford a carer, which is another problem. But I've never seen a case of a teenager looking after their parents. For nukes. Well said. Let's clap for the carers.
Sometimes I'll be there. If they phone, I'll be, hi, and they'll say, hi, is this Catherine Jane? I'll say, no, this is her daughter. I usually speak for her. Sometimes people won't understand it. And they say, no, but we have to speak to your mother. I said, well, I'm sorry, but I'm the best that you can do. So me as a 13-year-old, I want to live a normal 13-year-old's life. But sometimes it's hard to, because I have to look after people and there's so much on my mind that I have to feel like I'm 23, not 13. Yeah. Sometimes I can't be a child, so that's quite sad as well.
And
thanks, James, for that super chat. So sad she never gets her childhood back. Yes, this is the job of government. It's not her job. And also, I don't know exactly what she does, but she hasn't received training for this. A carer has to be certified. They have to receive training. They get paid to do this job.
Have you felt that more acutely during lockdown?
Yes.
Because it's meant, she says, being at home more and so relied upon more. They had to shield after her mother was diagnosed with cancer in July. For many young carers, it's been a year of heightened dependency and isolation.
Well, I've been very sad and I felt like I can't cope with things. My grades in school have gone down because of everything that overwhelmed in my mind. But
her grades went down in school. So her future is being damaged because of this responsibility. And where the hell is the local government? Where the hell is the state? Where are the Tories supporters? Are people happy with this? Do they look at this and say, this is something wonderful? Does Jacob Rees-Mogg look at this and say, this is noble? It's disgusting. I'm not, and once again, I'm not criticizing her. She's the victim here. This is the responsibility of the state. We pay taxes for this. What's the point in having a government if it doesn't look after people? And just lets teenagers, leaves the responsibility of care onto teenagers.
But I've had lots of help through my friends and the YMCA carers that I haven't had to be so upset anymore.
This is our youth wing. It's our new young people centre that was opened during the pandemic.
Help has come from the YMCA Young Carers project, but it's been limited by lockdown restricting access to their centres like this one in Cardiff. It's open today only for us to meet Katie and two other young carers, Adam and Abby James. Their father had a stroke after a car crash.
What's it like to think of yourselves caring for your dad sometimes?
It sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? It's like...
We're used to it, so...
I think the worst part for me is sometimes, you know, if Dad's feeling down, it's sad to... It's just a bit like, oh, you know, I can't... It changes and it's, you know, I mean, I get sad if he's sad and stuff like that, so... I think the best part is just knowing that I'm helping.
During lockdown, have you found yourselves having to do more?
Definitely, since Dad was, he had sepsis over lockdown.
Esther?
Busy waving their flags, says Baldrick. Yes, that's where the Tories are. Where are the social workers? Exactly, Pete. Where are the social workers? Well, I think the problem is that many social workers have been laid off because of cuts. You know, Brexit is expensive, so we need to cut costs somewhere. You know, spending money on coins. You know, it takes a lot of money to mint coins that are useless. Her grades went down, and this is the problem. This is the worst part of all of this, is she's going to suffer the long-term consequences of this as well. Because if her grades go down, means that it's more difficult for her to get into university or to get a good job. If she can't get a good job, then she's stuck in a cycle. And people support this. This is what I don't understand. If there's any Tories watching this, how do they feel? Did they say, this is great, yes, I'm happy with this. This is perfectly fine. Isn't it great that she's learning these skills to look after people? Maybe in the future, that can be her career as a carer. You know, she's been forced into it, so then she'll like it even more. I understand. I can't understand how anyone can be okay with this. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to... I don't want to bring the mood down, but I think it's important to talk about these things, because these are serious issues. So the screen is a little bit... Let me make it like that.
Estimates vary over how many young carers in the UK there are. One study puts it at more than 800,000.
800,000 young carers. 800,000. Fernata, good night. Have a great weekend. Sorry, I don't mean to be... maybe this wasn't the best story to end on. The Tories have feelings. I don't know if they have feelings. Mogg would be happy at their suffering. Yeah. I'm sorry to say, Jacob Rees-Mogg would I honestly believe would be happy to see this. Max, you brought the mood down. I'm sorry. I just want a little bit more, and then I'll bring the mood back up again. I promise.
The Charity Carers Trust says for many, the pandemic has brought a steep rise in responsibilities and a decline in mental health. Something the YMCA in Cardiff has noticed too.
Typically, young carers are a group of young people who are more isolated than your average young person, but it's only been exacerbated by the pandemic, really. you know, with homeschooling and juggling that caring role, we've fully seen the effects of how difficult that can be, especially in the first lockdown where, you know, external carers were pulled. And when we speak to our young carers, every single one of them has said that their caring role has increased.
A Welsh Parliament committee is today calling for the safe reopening of face-to-face support to be prioritised for young carers, many of whom now return to school, worried what impact that could have at home.
But it is important that there are some supports, and at least the Welsh Parliament is doing something to provide some sort of support. So I'm hopeful that because stories like this are being highlighted by Channel 4 News, that it's actually something that people are going to hear and people are going to act on. People are going to put pressure on their MPs, on their local representatives, that this is unacceptable. If young people are looking after the elderly or their parents, it means that there is a problem and it needs to be fixed. If it requires raising taxes, then raise the bloody taxes. If the Tories have a problem with it, then show them this video. Not sure even UBI would help. The Scottish scheme had a minimum age. I think it was 16. But maybe wrong. I was a carer for my parents when I was 21. Thanks for that comment, Duke. Channel 4 is on CNN. Is now CNN. It's just a good story to finish. Yes, so let's move on. We're almost at the end of the stream. Yes, we're over the end of the stream. So there was another story I wanted to cover, but I'll leave that for another time. So I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who came on the stream tonight. Thanks to all of the super chats, greatly appreciate. But don't go yet because we have our one video for the road. And massive thank you to the moderators who did a fantastic job tonight. Greatly appreciated. 52 billion pounds burnt through test and trace, yes, and procurement. Nothing will happen until the Conservatives are out of power, and that's why I think it's important that there is pressure put on the Labour Party to form a coalition, a progressive coalition with the Greens, with the Liberal Democrats in the House of Commons, and with the SNP in the House of Commons as well, to form a coalition against the Conservative Party. I think that's the way out of this. Nothing else. Boris Johnson has his 80-seat majority. If these parties come together at the next election and vote tactically, get into power, even if it's just a weak coalition, and then introduce proportional representation, and then get the Conservatives out forever. Destroy the Conservative Party. Anyway, before we go, we have our one video for the road. This should pick us up a bit, I hope. Yes.
Yes, Sandra here.
Just fancy a date?
No, I don't want to go out with you. Going to stop it?
Do you want to go out with me?
Please just leave me alone. Leave me alone. So, my name's Sandra. Just
fancy
want to
a
talk
night
to you about, going to just leave me alone, please.
Just a night
try
out?
to do my job. Just leave me alone.
Do you want to come out with me?
My woman here. Just try to do
I'm
my job.
only asking you.
Just step back, you creepy bastard.
Do you want to come on a date?
You're just creepy.
Do you know what I've got in the house? I've got wee clowns in the house, right? And then I colour in their faces, and then I put wee lips on them, and then I kiss them. You can come and see that if you want. It's just wee clowns, it's cushions.
Holy fuck,
but it's cushions that are
Matt.
clowns with makeup on them. It's dead easy if you just want to come and see them. Come to my house. No, don't want to. Come to my house. I don't want to. I don't want to come to your house. Can you just leave me alone? I don't want to see your creepy cushions, your clowns, or your cans of cider. Thanks very much. Hi there.
Creepy cushions. Clown cushions, sorry. Creepy clown cushions. Creepy clown cushions. That's it. So I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this original video where it was, I think it was in 2019, where this candidate was for the Conservative Party, and Matt Hancock was extremely creepy in this. And I think he may have, it seemed that he was a little bit excited to see her, if you understand. But even the original video without the voiceover is extremely creepy. So guys, I want to say thank you to everyone who came on the stream tonight. Have a great weekend. Remember, you can support the channel by becoming a patron, where you get instant access to Discord. And after the stream tonight, there is a chat on Discord. He was told, yes. But you can also support the channel by sharing videos on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever you can. That's greatly appreciated as well. So have a great weekend, guys. I will see you next Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel, 9:30 GMT. So have a great weekend. Once again, thanks to everyone who sent a super chat, everyone who came on the stream tonight. Smash that like button. And of course, the moderators who done a bang up job as always. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on Tuesday. Take care.